Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today in the shop we've got this 2011 GMC 2500, big 3/4 ton truck. And like many of these trucks, these big heavy trucks, when they get a few miles on them, the front suspension, steering pieces start to get a little bit of play in them, and that's the problem with this one. It's got a little too much play in the idler arm. It's got a little bit too much play in the pitman arm. So I'm going to show you how to change those out, and also the tie rod ends and the sway bar end links, because all of that's getting kind of wore out. I'm going to show you how easy it can be with the right tools and the right attitude to get these things done. So come along and let's get into it. So this truck has just got so much play in our steering linkage here. So if you look up here, you'll see that we've got our pitman arm coming out to this drag link, and I'm going to move this wheel side to side, and you'll be able to see that these two are clank, 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 moving side to side, independent of one another. Same thing's happening with this drag idler arm and the center link there. So watch what happens when I move these. So look and see if you see movement between these two as I turn the wheel back and forth. There should be no slop. That all should be nice and tight together. But you see that there's too much movement up in here inside of this little boot. So let me show you. You see that movement back and forth? Hopefully that captures it. Let's look now over at this side and look up in there and look for the same thing. Too much movement. As we're wiggling this back and forth, those should be moving in sync, and yet they're not. So we're going to go ahead and swap those out. So in order to get the sway bar down and swing it down out of the way, we're going to go ahead and undo its mounts from the frame here. These are 10mm bolts. There's two here holding this saddle, and then two on that side holding that end. So we'll go ahead and buzz those out. There's one. Nice big hefty bolt for a little bitty 10mm head, isn't it? I'll go ahead and I'll leave it in a couple threads just so it doesn't fall and bop me in the head. Let's go over here and buzz these two out. Gotta, you know, I said so it wouldn't fall and bop me in the head, right? Ask me how I know. There we go. Okay, so now you can see this thing will just kind of fall down and hang out there, because it's still held up in place by these sway bar end links. And look at all of this room now that we've got to at least access the nut that holds on our pitman arm to our steering gearbox. Now it's true, I kind of skipped ahead on you on one thing, so I want to touch on that real quick. Before you can see all of this stuff underneath here, there's a couple of belly pans, little skid plate type protectors down here that I've got on the ground that go up underneath here. And they're just held in with these bolts. Okay, so there's two in the front, two on this cross member, and two back here on this cross member. And that will get those two skid plates down and out of your way so that you can get access to all of these parts way easier. All right, let's get this nut out of here. It's a 24mm as well. There we go. Now we need to separate these two, and we're going to use our tool again. That same tie rod slash idler arm slash everything separator. So we'll put that in place, tighten up this center piece until we've got it touching. There we go. Okay. Let me get you a different angle for this. How's that? That looks better. All right. And we're going to go ahead and repeat the process. We're going to tighten this center up. Okay. See what happens. And again, we're listening for that loud pop of either the tool breaking or preferably these two coming apart. Hey, there we go. All right, well, guys, it worked. Look at there. Now our drag link is completely separated from this idler, which has play inside of this cup end, and it's making a kind of a clicking sound. Can you hear that? That's why you got a little bit of wiggle in your steering wheel. And by the way, that was the symptom of this, is that at highway speed, the steering wheel would kind of vibrate back and forth. And so it could be, when that happens, it could be parts like this idler, it could be tie rod ends, it could be worn out inner tie rods, it could be pitman arm, and in my case, I've got play in the pitman arm, I've got play in the idler, so I'm going to try and take care of all of that at the same time. Here's our idler arm. Once it's disconnected from this drag link, you can kind of push it over the side and you get good access to these through bolts that hold it into this little part of the frame, this little bracket back here. And these bolts that hold it on the back side, the nuts are 24 millimeter. On the front side, it's an 18 millimeter. I don't know why they do that, but they did. So we'll go ahead and we'll hold the back and we'll come around here to the front and see if we can't use our impact and buzz those bolts out. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can't loosen this up. Now I'm going to go for the harder one first. I don't know about you guys, but I usually like to try for the harder one first, because if I can get that one, then I can get the other one, no problem. And that wasn't too bad, actually. Of course, I've got a breaker bar on this thing, and I've got 18 in the front, 24 millimeter in the back, and we can probably get that out with an impact. Now, let's see about this guy. If it wants to break loose for us, let's go ahead and move our 24 backer here. Okay. Oh yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. All right, both of those are loose now. Not loose enough to turn by hand, but definitely loose enough to use the impact on with an extension. So that's what we're going to do. We'll come in here and we'll go back to our more difficult of the two. Put the backer on there. Come on, there we go. All right. We'll hold that in place and we'll see if we can't get this guy loose. There we are. Okay. Oh, did it slip off? Oh, slipped off. Let me get to the back. There we go. Let's try that again. Okay. It looks like it might have loosened up. Yeah. All right. Now let's get the other one. Go. All right, now these are loose. We can remove them. There we go. Pretty hefty bolts. Definitely want to use some Loctite when you put these back together. And let's see if this guy wants to come out easily for us or not. Kind of wedged into its pocket there, so we may have to give it a little persuasion, but that's okay. That's part of the joy of wrenching, isn't it? It's using the big ugly tools to move things around when they want to be hard to get. Here we go. Get our pry bar in there. Wiggle this booger out of here. There we go. Okay. Let's see how that goes now. There we go. And there is our idler arm out of the way. Okay. Old versus the new. Another nice Moog part here. Pretty heavy duty, well made. I noticed the old one here. Look how easy it is to maneuver this thing flopping around. I can feel clicking in this end right here. This one here, nice and tight, and I cannot twist this thing. I'm going to have to mount it up in place before I can twist it to the right direction. So let's go ahead and try and do that. Let's put it up into its home there, and I'll bring you along. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. We'll go back up in here, just like so, and we need this to be pointed that direction. Like I said, it's too hard to twist it. There we go. I can do it. It just takes a lot more force than the other one. There we go. All right, that's a little better. Now, take this thing, set it up into place. It too may need a little bit of persuasion to kind of wedge it back in to this pocket that it came out of. I'm going to do that with a, what do you think, guys? Maybe a hammer? Tap, little love taps. Kind of an awkward area. Really can't swing it. You want to hit it sort of right in the center of the thing, and it's kind of an awkward area to try and use a hammer. So what I may do is try to spread this little part of the bracketry out so it slides in a little easier, or I might just try to use a pry bar somewhere safe that's not going to crack against the block and try and wedge it in. That's probably the easier thing to do. So let's try that. Let me see if I can get this in here. Looking for something to pry against that's not going to be breakable. There's a good heavy-duty part of the engine there. Let's see if we can get this thing to slide over using that leverage. It's surprisingly difficult, so I don't know. Try a different angle. Just looking for something that I can pry against, not having too much luck. I'll bring you back when I figure this out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to widen this little pocket out a little bit so that the new idler arm will fall in there a little bit easier. And what I'm decided to try to do is use a long pry bar here and just kind of hammer it away on the backside there. And what that's going to do, hopefully, is open that pocket up just enough to where it'll allow the new part to slip in there a little easier. So let's see if that helps. Put this new part up in here like so. Hey, look at that. No problem at all. Hey, there you go. So another tip for you guys. That worked really slick. Let's get those bolts back in it with some Loctite. Let's tighten these bolts up. Torque spec, probably pretty high. I'll put a number down below if I can find it for you. Anytime you got a really heavy duty bolt, chances are it's going to have a high torque spec, especially if it's on a heavy duty car. Suspension, I've got Loctite on this bolt, and the nut on the back also is a special design that won't back off. That feels about right. And tighten this other one. A lot of people say, well, it's about 5 ooga doogas, meaning that you got to really strain 5 times in order to tighten it enough for it to be in torque spec. So these are probably some 5 ooga doogas, whereas the ones that were holding on the steering gearbox, those are probably more like a 8 to 10 ooga dooga bolt. There we go. Really like this ratcheting extension bar, breaker bar. Found it at some tool show somewhere. I forget who makes it, but you can get one online. They're just handy as heck, especially in a situation like this. You need to put some oomph on it, and you don't want to have to keep trying to re-grab it and move it around. There we go. That idler arm is reattached. All right. So let's see what it's going to take in order to get this idler arm back into its home in our drag link here. Oof, that's a good tight joint now. All right, I'm going to get the new nut just in case we're able to put it up in there. We want to be able to hold it in place. So we'll try and line these things up. May have to move it over just a little bit like that. There we go. Push it up into place, and then you can get your new nut. And this is a castellated one, so it comes with a cotter pin that we're going to want to stick. Once we tighten this thing up, we're going to want to torque this to spec and then put a cotter pin through there in order to hold it in place. You guys know what I'm talking about with a cotter pin. We'll put that in there, and then we'll bend these little ears out so that that can't come loose. So this is tight. We've got our new pitman arm attached, nice and tight. We've got our new idler arm attached, nice and tight. Everything's torqued. And so now we can go ahead and take our sway bar, which we kind of let flop down here out of the way so that we could get to those bolts and everything. We're going to go ahead and reattach the sway bar. Hey guys, thanks for sticking it out with us. I know that was a lot, but if you're going to do part of the steering system on one of these big heavy duty trucks, because one piece is worn out, this thing's got a little over 120,000 miles or something like that. You know, the parts just wear out, you know, and so it's good to go ahead and replace as many of them as you can. And so I wanted to show you how to do all of it. It's a little easier sometimes when you do them all at the same time too, instead of one little piecemeal at a time. And, you know, while something's down, you can fix it and get to other things behind it, as we saw. So today, just as a reminder, we did the outer tie rod ends. We did the sway bar end links. We did our idler. Turn the light on there. We did our idler. We did our pitman arm. And I showed you the easy ways to get to that. Everything's nice and torqued. Everything's got a securing cotter pin or Loctite if necessary. We've got everything greased that has a grease fitting. And the only thing left really is we're going to put these belly pans back up, these skid pans back up to protect everything, and go out there and get it aligned. You know, you do something like this, you know, this much work, any kind of front end type work, you definitely need to get it aligned afterwards. You know, we counted how many rotations we took the tie rod ends off and put them on the exact same spot because they went up and bumped up against those stops, which we left in that place for that reason. But you're still going to need alignment. And so I'm ready to go out there and see if I feel a difference and see if that shimmy that I had at about, you know, highway speed, 55 mile an hour or so, it would kind of shake like this. See if that shimmy goes away now, because I definitely found some worn out parts. There was a lot of play. I've got all these parts left over down here at my feet. A lot of play in the outer tie rod ends, the idler, and the pitman. So this is going to tighten it up a whole lot. If it doesn't fix my shimmy, it sure should fix most of it. And I bet you this is going to be good. So I will get back with you and let you know how it goes. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to put some chapters in here because I know it's long, and that way you can skip to what you want to see, or maybe break it up. I don't know what I'll end up doing, but I thank you guys that stuck through to this end. I hope this helps you a lot. If so, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate y'all's time. God bless.